Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're doing something a little bit different. We're taking a fresh look at Dale Carnegie's absolute classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But here's the catch. We're going to look at it in a completely different way than the literal text suggests. For decades, people have treated this thing like it's just a manual for salespeople, a superficial checklist of hacks to just get what you want out of people. But if you read between the lines, it's actually a profound psychological masterclass. It's not a bag of tricks, it's a fundamental rewiring of how we interact with the world. Okay, let's dive right into this by completely dismantling a huge myth. The idea that human interaction is driven purely by rational thought and hard facts. I mean, we all love to think of ourselves as these highly logical beings, right? We kind of assume that if we just present someone with the right data or, the absolutely perfect argument, they're just going to naturally nod and agree with us. But is that actually how it works out in the real world? Well, as Carnegie so brilliantly illustrates, the answer is a massive, resounding no. The human brain actually operates heavily on ego. We are fundamentally creatures of emotion, bristling with prejudice, and motivated largely by pride and vanity. Understanding this one single fact, it's a total game changer. It fundamentally shifts how we have to approach literally every relationship in our lives, whether that's with a colleague, a spouse, or just a complete stranger on the street. So that brings us to Section 1, the illusion of logic. Dismantling the rational human. 99 times out of 100, people do not criticize themselves for anything, no matter how incredibly wrong they might be. Carnegie tells this absolutely wild story about the infamous criminal Two-Gun Crawley. Picture this. During a massive police shootout in New York, trapped in an apartment, this ruthless killer actually wrote a letter claiming he had a weary but kind heart. Think about that for a second. Even a literal murderer, while actively dodging police bullets, saw himself as this misunderstood victim. So what's the takeaway for us here? It means criticizing people is completely futile. It instantly puts them on the defensive and forces them to justify their actions. Listen, if Two-Gun Crawley didn't blame himself, the person you're arguing with at the office definitely isn't going to either. Let's move along to Section 2, the deepest human craving, where we'll dive right into the psychology of importance. Now, most of our fundamental physical desires, things like food, sleep, health, money, the well-being of our kids, those are usually gratified in modern society. Generally speaking, we get enough to eat, we catch some sleep, we have basic health, and we take care of our families. These are the absolute baseline needs for human survival. But there is one really glaring exception. And that exception is the desire to be important. The psychologist William James called it the craving to be appreciated. And notice he didn't say it was a wish or a desire. He specifically said craving. It's like this imperious, gnawing psychological starvation. So Carnegie's rules aren't actually about just being nice or slapping on a fake smile. They are about feeding this deep psychological starvation in the people you interact with. When you give someone a genuine feeling of importance, you're literally giving them the one thing they crave almost as much as food and water. But to feed that starvation effectively, we absolutely have to understand the hard line between shallow flattery and sincere appreciation. Flattery, it's cheap, it's selfish, it's basically just telling someone what they already think about themselves. And honestly, people see right through it. True appreciation, however, is unselfish. It means proving that we're looking much deeper than just literal lip service. It means hitting pause on our own constant, self-obsessed thoughts, taking a step back, and genuinely uncovering the hidden value in another human being. Which perfectly tees up Section 3, baiting the right hook, the empathy engine in action. Think about the immense friction of pushing our own desires versus the radically empathetic approach of actually adopting the other person's perspective. Carnegie makes this great point. He says he personally loves strawberries and cream, but when he goes fishing, he doesn't bait the hook with strawberries. He uses worms. Why? Because that's what the fish want. It sounds like totally obvious common sense, right? But we almost never do this with humans. It's like the great philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson and his son. They were red-faced, literally trying to force this stubborn calf into a barn by pushing and pulling it. They were only thinking about what they wanted. But then, a housemaid walks by, puts her finger in the calf's mouth, and just lets it suck her finger as she gently leads it inside. She thought about what the calf wanted. That right there, that is the empathy engine in action. So to actually pull this off in real life, here are the internal mental gymnastics you have to go through before you even speak. It's a quick 3-step process. First, just pause. Second, suppress your own immediate desire to talk about what you want. And third, ask yourself, how can I make this person want to do it? This really reveals the heavy psychological lifting required behind Carnegie's external rules. This isn't manipulation, folks. It's an exercise in supreme empathy. You're trying to align your goals with their internal motivations. Understanding that internal process brings us right into Section 4, the ego trap and reframing conflict. There's an old saying, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And it is so incredibly true. When you tell someone they're wrong, you are striking a direct blow at their intelligence, their pride, and their self-respect. You basically trigger their entire neuromuscular defense system. Attacking someone's ego guarantees that they will never, ever truly agree with you, even if you are factually, logically 100% right. Instead of dropping bombs of logic on people, Carnegie suggests using a drop of honey to catch their heart first. Because the second you threaten their self-esteem, the conversation is completely over. As we pull all of these threads together, we reach Section 5, a new way of life, the paradigm shift. We have to circle back to this profound insight from William James because it really anchors the entire philosophy. True influence does not come from dominating a conversation or trying to be the smartest person in the room. No way. It requires a permanent, genuine curiosity about the value of others. It's about looking at literally every person you meet and asking yourself, what can I honestly admire about them? When we view the source text through this specific lens, the whole thing transforms entirely. It's not a literal checklist or some cheap bag of tricks. It is a powerful operating system for human empathy. Smiling, remembering someone's name, listening actively, avoiding arguments, these aren't just polite, folksy habits. They are vital tools to step out of our own suffocating egos and recognize the profound, beautiful humanity in the people around us. So I want to leave you with this final thought to close out our explainer today. How will you step outside yourself and rewire your own worldview tomorrow? The very next time you find yourself frustrated with a colleague or you're trying to pitch an idea, just pause. Put away your strawberries and cream. Ask yourself what the other person truly hungers for, and give them the genuine appreciation they are absolutely starving for. Honestly, it just might change your life. Thanks so much for learning with us today.